Hey everybody, welcome to the Quotidian podcast, the grindheadjim.com podcast about Destiny. I'm your host, Grindhead Jim, joined by, as always, Grant Beard and the ever-popular Jill the Ripper. How you guys doing?
Good.
Good, how are you doing?
Good. I figure I should address the elephant in the room, which is the name of the podcast. It may have slipped some people as to what it is. It was a complete fucking accident, and we have Bennett and his mobile phone's autocorrect to thank for it. Quotidian is a word that, in essence, means an accepted thing that you do every day. It's a constant. And I thought, because we were talking about something totally different, and he just kind of said Quotidian, and I don't know why his keyboard would have had Quotidian in the autocorrect, but it was there. And I was like, what the fuck? That's a great word. I looked it up. It just happened to mean that. And we talk about Destiny. We're grinding every single day. It's a constant. It's an accepted thing that we do. There's the name of the podcast. So, Quotidian Podcast, go. Today's topic.
And not only is it a crazy freaky word and a crazy freaky story, but it just so happens to expand our viewers' vocabulary a little bit further as well.
Mm-hmm.
The educational podcast.
Right.
Yes, exactly. For at least the first one that you watch, and then you're like, oh, I know what that means. Now back to the gaming.
Exactly. So we basically, if you guys have already watched one of the episodes, or you're just joining us for the first time, this is just all it is. It's about Destiny, period, end. And this week, this particular episode is going to be about the House of Wolves, a.k.a. the House of Wait.
Mm-hmm.
Quarter 2, from April until June, the end of June, so July, basically. That's a long fucking time, guys.
Yeah.
That they could come out with it. Now, Jill, you just got the game less than a month ago. Yeah. So, and you're playing through the story. You're still leveling up your character. You're still getting your footing as far as how you want to play.
Yes.
How do you feel about this? I want to kind of get your perspective first, because I have a feeling Grant has a lot to say about this.
Anyway.
Now, the thing that I have noticed is probably fairly similar to the thing a lot of people have noticed is that, it is the grind all the time. It's the same bounties, the same missions all the time, and I think they could have done better with introducing more content earlier on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm stepping aside so Grant can get on his soapbox.
No, you take as long as you want, because this is going to be a very big soapbox, and it's going to be hard to come down from it. So please, talk all you want before all of a sudden we just call this the Grant Rants for way too long, Chat.
No, really, that's about that's pretty much it. Is that I've noticed that there is a lack of once you get through the story, it's the same stuff over and over and over again.
Has that kept you, for the most part, busy, though? Like, between the balance of story, bounties, and all the raids and so on, does that feel like it's enough for now?
It has, but probably because I came from a World of Warcraft, was the other most recent, of course I haven't played that in a couple years, but it was the most recent MMO that I played other than this, and the bounties in this are just like the dailies were in World of Warcraft. You do them every day.
Yep. Except in terms of the bounties in WoW, they actually had a quest hub, and you didn't end up starting from the same spot. You could fly elsewhere, or, as they would call it, hearth, to other places that you may already have, saved off.
Yes.
And all that Destiny has done is started you in the same place when you end up starting patrol missions. That's a whole different gripe. But moving on from that one, what about the PvP? Has that kept you going at all, or is that something you completely avoid?
I don't completely avoid it. I have jumped into the Crucible a few times, but what I've noticed is that gear-wise, I'm just so not at a competitive level with most of the people that are in there doing PvP.
What are you feeling you lack being like a new player and or a fairly, recent player in terms of like what you like about the PvP structuring or anything like that? Like,
I do like that
or
the different theaters for the PvP, like the different areas that you go to, are completely different from most anything else in the game. So you really do have to pay attention and learn what you're doing. I do like that aspect of it. But as far as what I'm feeling that I need, it's kind of, and I realize that, like, they do the whole level, evening out the level thing. But still, when you're standing next to someone that is in all legendary or exotic, it's still going to make a huge difference as far as the damage that I'm able to do to that person and the damage that they're able to do to me.
right. Yep, that I can agree with 100%. What weapons do you tend to find yourself using a lot of, though?
Shotgun. Definitely a shotgun.
Which one, I wonder?
I actually have...
really?
Right now, I have a Sidewinder and the Secret Handshake.
Okay.
That's a common one. Yeah.
Yes, Sidewinder is a pretty great shotgun. I go for rate of fire and range for the most part with a shotgun, especially now with the buff incoming. So
Right.
I love a good shotgun. I think that when the buff comes, I wonder if I'm going to still be using shotgun as much in PvP. I probably will.
Well, and fusion rifles are pretty freaking great in PvP if you can get the shot off.
That's a big fucking if, right?
Yeah.
It's all about planning the shot and the charge, right?
No attention when you're shooting at them.
Right.
I do find that you'll hear a lot of boop, 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 from people basically sitting there just riding the trigger like this, right?
Yep.
Brant, 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 brant. And when I'm using a fusion
That's
rifle...
not how I play a fusion rifle at all.
I detect a mild amount of sarcasm in your voice, sir. Mild.
I'm not sure how much you ended up getting out of that. No, not at all. I'll shut up.
Grant, you're playing Monster Hunter, aren't you?
Guys. I'm totally playing Monster Hunter right now.
How far we've come from the days where we used to play Animal Crossing during podcasts. Now it's Monster Hunter.
Well, guess what? It's still me looking down at my DS, so we haven't come that far.
And I'm drinking a beer, so nothing has changed.
We haven't come that far.
Hey, folks, the video quality and the audio quality are vastly improved. I've got little thingy under my name, but I'm still fucking drinking. I don't know.
0 fucks to give.
That's correct.
Yeah, that's pretty much right on the nose on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, about that. So with House of Wolves, I have what I thought was going to be like a week-long break. Like, I tried to turn on Destiny today. I was like, no, I got too much other stuff I can be doing. And it is not that Destiny does not demand my attention, is that other things demand my attention more. In this case, my computer. I am having so much fun in Toyland of having a new computer. What I've been dealing with all day is trying to get a rooted version of BlueStacks running on my computer, which will then have a modified version of Remote Play running on there, so I can stream PlayStation 4 gameplay from my PS4, to the PC. Then trying to figure out how to stream that to Twitch, so that I can have more control over the camera and stuff. And on the streaming is secondary. The idea of having PS4 right there on the PC like that, without the use of a capture card, fucking awesome.
Bingo.
There are ways to root a BlueStacks installation, but they make it really difficult. So I end up having to acquire a pre-rooted version. So we're going to see if that works after the stream, and I will let you guys on the channel know if I got it working. And I'm really hoping to stream it, but so far, when I have got it to work, when it shows up in the stream, it's a black screen, which is very difficult to mitigate. I think because of the nature of how it works, you know. But when
It's frustrating.
It is, but it's one of these things where I knew going into this idea a few hours ago that it was likely that it would not work for streaming, which is fine. I got other games I can stream, or I can stream from the PS4 as I have been. There's nothing lost there, you know? So,
right.
When House of Wolves does come, though, I'm confident that I'll have all those problems resolved and I'll be back to my normal thing. I'll just be changing the way that I do stuff.
Right.
I am looking forward most not to the new weapons, not to the new armor, just having different things to do, and frankly leveling up the stuff I've already got. Like, I'm actually looking forward to that again.
Things to do, definitely.
Because everything I have, with the exception of my second raid helmet, which will become my only raid helmet, because I have two of them now. One of them had the better roll, you might remember, and then the other piece of chest armor that I got. Once those are leveled up, and I'm in no rush to do that, that's it. I don't even care if I get the Crooks of Crota anytime soon, because if I don't get it before the House of Wolves, I'll get it after the House of Wolves. You know, I eventually want to get my hands on Black Hammer, so
yeah,
I'm not that worried about it.
But a lot of that stuff is like side graded. You know, you have a lot of your main equipment down. You have a lot of the stuff that essentially you're looking for already.
Right.
So a lot of that is, if you will, that's your casual gameplay. Now that the expansion is for you pretty much done.
How does that differ for you, though?
Monarchy will take care of all of that. I'm sorry, Suze. I had to pick on you for your television.
What?
I said New Monarchy will take care of the rest. You didn't hear me. Anyway.
No, I didn't hear that. Sorry.
It is actually no different for me. I have everything that I am looking for in terms of my character. I have everything that I could really think that I'd like to have with my character. I honestly do not see much or any large need to continue to smack my head against most of what's going on outside of, some of the PvP. But guess what? Shotguns reign supreme in the Crucible.
Yeah,
unless you I would say shotguns and auto rifles are the thing. And until they end up getting some kind of balance that may end up changing some of that, which we all know is kind of on the way, then I don't foresee that end up, changing itself to make me go out and level something different or something I don't already have. I have one of everything right now, either exotic or legendary, that I don't need to otherwise level anything up. And I've had a few people that have actually argued with me and said, well, you don't have, all the primaries with the elemental damage. And I'm just looking at them going, I don't care. I have Vanquisher 8, which is arguably one of the best auto rifles in the game, which still hits like a freaking truck no matter what I'm hitting against, no matter what burn I have, which, by the way, Nightfall this week, and
not in any hurry to do that shit.
I'm probably just not going to do it. And that's where, part of my thing is with the game right now, which is fairly similar, I think, to where you're at, kind of, Jimmy. It's pick and choose what I want to do because I know the game is pretty much done at this point until a June timetable, which means I have until June to essentially level up my other 2 warlocks on their Voidwalker specs. I kind of have plenty of time that I can do that with.
It's a good point. And I suppose that while we're kind of griping about the lack of content, I kind of like the idea that it's a built-in pressure valve, right? Like, you guys both know, like, I was really going overboard with Destiny for a long time, and the idea that I can afford the break is, it's welcome, to be perfectly honest.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe that makes me a recovering addict. I don't know.
It helps you to sit back and see like how your habits have been or what you had been doing, because that's one of the biggest issues that you run into with a lot of MMOs. Period. You know, you especially with like World of Warcraft right now. I ended up just picking up the Warlords of Draenor expansion to play now and again and just do some of the PvP with a buddy, and the amount of stuff that I could sit back and actually do with that game, though, I have 5 expansions worth and a main game's worth of content that I could actually play through, and every single expansion or the main game still has something that at max level of 100 I could still go back and kind of do to a point. Some of it is just achievements. None of it may have like an actual effect on how my character is, but some of it is just baseline achievements. The same is basically the same of could be said of what Destiny is right now for some people. I see Canefire in the Destiny chat talk all the time about, hey, look at my achievement that I just got. Well, that's cool. How are your guns? You already have all those leveled up, right? Okay. At least you find some joy in it, so I can't fault you there. You know, and that's where it comes down to it. How much of the grind is going to be essentially worth it to you to well, and real, and worth it to you to basically keep going with this really, really, really out there schedule that they have. And I think what really throws the whole thing off, because I was thinking about this the other day too, is just the fact that the game came out in September, and we ended up getting House of Wolves in December, and now it's pretty much a 7-month wait to get the next pack.
Well, we didn't get House of Wolves in December. What we got was Fall of Crota, the Shadows of the fucking what the fuck?
Dark Below.
Dark Below. Yeah.
I'm sorry, doesn't Dark Below just sound like a really bad porn name about a big black ass? No? Okay. I just thought I'd ask, you know. No? Violet? Okay.
Sorry, I'm not with you.
You really, really wonder why I play Monster Hunter while you talk.
And you wonder why I drink.
This is why we can't have nice things.
You guys are the reason I go to therapy.
Oh, shit. But I don't know. It's. I think the timing is good. Given the promises that Bungie has made regarding House of Wolves, I'm not upset that it's being pushed back a little bit further than we all assumed. That's the important word there. Assumed it would be coming. Because it allows us to kind of explore every nook and cranny of the content that's out there. I would greatly appreciate an update from them regarding what the features with your old armor is going to be, because if it's going to be relevant for me to get a set of Vaulta class armor or Vex Mytha class or what have you, I'd like to know now.
Right.
That would be nice, excuse me.
And it would also be it would also be good if they, you know, were able to throw out some of these changes that they want to a bit earlier. like the balancing or otherwise, to kind of help along with keeping the content a bit more fresh. But
to be fair with the balancing, as far as the weapons go, that's supposed to come out at the end of February, and February's barely half over, so I'm not... it's the internet, right? Like, how many times... You remember when the beta was out, right? It was barely a week, right? It was like a week and a day or some shit. Felt like a fucking month. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so when they announced something 2 weeks ago, it's like, oh my god, it's forever. The patch is not here yet. You know, it's like, I'm not buying that too much. It's a difficult thing to keep in perspective.
Yeah, they're taking the opposite effect of what most MMOs do too, though, with their news and their, you know, what they've been talking about as well. Because if we keep on the ideas of like Blizzard or even Final Fantasy XIV, they tend to be a bit more open with like what's going on. They get a ton of patch notes out there weeks and weeks ahead of time, and then they end up going, hey, we're finally releasing this like next week, and they don't really tell you anything prior to that outside of these are all the patch notes. Now it's ready after it all said and done with the testing, and that's what you wrote. But that's what they're taking the opposite perspective to this. They're really just kind of saying, here it is, now 2 weeks later we'll release it, and I'm sure they're doing a lot of internal testing, but I don't think they've got an avenue that they could really do like a lot of beta testing or a build for that.
Right. I mean, not to mention the fact that I'm not saying other MMOs or other games don't have these rabid fan bases that want to sit there and yap and complain, because they all do on some level. I mean...
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah, they do.
Janzer would have a lot to say about that, and we're going to have him guest on the podcast one of these times, because I want to hear him kind of weigh in, because he likes my perspective from Destiny and Warframe, and hey, you got your Destiny chat in my Warframe podcast, and you got your Destiny... but anyway, I think he would have a lot to say on that. However, that being said, I think something about the console gamer, which this is a first for console gaming, Destiny, they're way more impatient and they want it now. They really have very little concept of, and I say this being primarily a console gamer and identifying as one of these people, okay? The console gamer, by and large, has the attitude of, I paid for it, I want it all right now. Give it to me now. Why isn't it ready? Give it to me now. Why isn't it ready? Give it to me now. Why isn't it ready? Give it to me now. And it's justified to a point, but at the same time, if it keeps me from having Destiny 2, the Turbo Championship Edition, you know, the 7th version of the game, you know, in a world where we have patches, I'm fine with that. I will find something to do. And I'll say it again, the only reason I'm on Destiny right now is because I haven't figured out a way to put it on my computer screen. When that happens, oh my god, I may never leave the house. I may need to get an IV and shit.
We'll send someone to check on you every now and then.
Yeah. And by the way, I told you yesterday, I did pick a video card. I loosened my sphincter a little bit when I started looking at like Titanfall specs and a couple other things, and their recommended specs. Like, I blow the recommended specs for Titanfall out of the water once I get that video card. Just using the example, because Dying Light's just like way up there, and I hit the recommended specs except for the video card on that. Now, so it's just kind of one of these things where I see things evolving, no pun intended, and it's just a matter of time before like the PlayStation releases an actual native remote play app for PC. They talked about it a long time ago. I think it's coming. I think it's a question of, do we try to use this to sell tablets and phones, or don't we? Because the APK is already leaked. It's already fucking on everyone's phone, and it's getting lots of use. I have a feeling that they want to make sure they've optimized the network and a lot of other things before they do that. The reason I bring this up is that the more content that Destiny gets after House of Wolves, and of course the major content update they've already confirmed for later in the year, which is essentially going to be the game all over again. What do you guys think about the commitment level it's going to take, even given the fact that you can come in at a certain point in the DLC for someone new? Let's say someone has been biding their time, or they put the game down before Dark Below, and then come September when Comet comes out, they're like, alright, I want to play catch up. I don't give a shit who you are. Like, I understand the Dark Below, you could have just came in, played hard for about a month and been fine. But even Sue's here is taking her time and getting things to where she wants to be. It's not an overnight thing, and she plays a lot. Am I wrong when I say this?
No, I'm on for probably at least 6 hours a day.
Right, so imagine another full DLC like that. Imagine fucking, that much more content. Janzer just tweeted me, thank you Push Bullet developers for me being able to see this while I'm doing this. There is chat. If you're on the YouTube page right now, there's a notification there on the lower left that lets you join the Google Hangout on air on a separate page. So if you're watching me from like a different kind of YouTube app, you're going to have to go to a browser and go old school. So,
nobody wants to do that. That's a trap.
Ain't no one got time for that. But
or that.
I got a little time.
No, nobody does.
But the thing is, I find it funny that, like, with all the remote play stuff you can do, we're going to get to a point where you can play this game almost anywhere in the world at any given time, provided you have a connection. And for the person coming in, either fresh or coming back from a break or something like that, it's going to be a daunting task to get to whatever level, especially if you're starting.
See the first news report of someone like crashing their car into a pedestrian or something because they were playing Destiny on their fucking phones while driving. You know this shit's gonna happen.
Probably.
Would not surprise me, unfortunately. That's a depressing thought in and of itself.
Yep.
But that's where, in general, that's the way that gaming is going as it is. I mean, we're starting to have all these companion apps. Soon we might be able to play Destiny through the companion apps on choice phones. Who knows? It's an ever-evolving world as it is. It's an ever-evolving system that we have.
Mm-hmm.
But that if we do start to talk about, playing catch-up or, needing to devote time or otherwise into it, we don't really have a problem with being able to do so, especially when we have options like remote play or anything like that. The jobs that we tend to hold end up being the problems for that. But the large thing with catch-up with anything Destiny related, if you're doing the like tri-character thing like you and I are doing, Jimmy, then you end up leveling pretty much an entire weapon in one day. And you end up getting one piece of armor in no time. Like, it's nothing to end up leveling those things. So it's not that everybody ends up doing that, but if you're passing back one set of weaponry between 3 characters, even if one is Hunter, Warlock, Titan, then at that point, you're still able to level an exotic weapon very quickly. And you can do that in a matter of a couple weeks' time. You're set to go.
Right.
The problem is getting to the point where it's available to you. And that's what Bungie does, just like Blizzard does. They keep you coming back every week to make sure you keep getting your strange coins, and you keep checking on Xur because he's a piece of shit.
Mm-hmm.
I can't fault that.
No, I mean,
That is their
it's actually it's
entire.
actually kind of brilliant how they do that.
It's the same thing. Like I'm like I said, I'm starting to play WoW again, and I am flabbergasted at the way that Blizzard is doing things because you have a give you an idea. You have a garrison that you build up, and you can do these work orders in different parts of the garrison. But every I think it's like 4 or 5 hours, these work orders will refresh, so that you have to basically refresh them again. Keep doing
Mm-hmm.
them over and over, which means you constantly gain more materials, and you're constantly out just doing that, just so you can keep the work orders going, so you can constantly keep getting the different materials that you may need. So what that basically instills into anybody that plays WoW is they teach a principle of temperance on their page. Like, take your time with it, go outside now and again. But really, when we need you on the computer every couple hours, just to make sure that you can basically upgrade your stuff quicker, then you need to be there to make sure that you can get the materials.
Right.
Right.
It's just it's counterintuitive, and if we want to start talking that the grind is your content, then that starts to be a bit of a problem. And I think that's just the way that this grind in particular is. Like, there are many, many, many different types of grinds. I think it's just this one. I personally am just starting to fall off of it and be like, there is nothing interesting about the end game content for me to care to keep going. And that could be something as simple as I don't know about these end bosses as much as I would like to, from a lore perspective. To be like, oh, Crota ended up, leading an entire massive hive army to end up destroying Earth previously. What else did he do that he's such a scourge to the universe? Because you still haven't told me any of that for the rest of the other classes or races. So thanks a lot, Bungie, because I have no backstory for these assholes outside of the simple fact that he led a raid on Earth and ended up destroying most of humanity.
And then there's
Okay,
that
one
big
side didn't
thing
tell you.
floating in the sky over the city now that they didn't really tell you a whole lot about either.
Yeah, and I think that's where my gripes end up coming in. It's just the fact that I feel like I'm doing it with no point aside from my characters. And those are the entire reasons that I end up playing Destiny to begin with, which granted is the whole reason I end up playing a lot of MMOs. Or Monster Hunter, for God's sake. It's all the same idea in terms of building a character up.
Mm-hmm.
But with Destiny, I'm starting to really not care because I have no background in story. Monster Hunter has a better, clear depicted story than Destiny does right now. I seriously have to say that. And you know what it is with Monster Hunter? Our village is in trouble. Well, what's killing it? This thing. Go kill it. Okay. More clear, concise, understandable. Destiny. I could tell you of the great battles, but we'd be here for a while. Well, I don't care. Tell me about the great battles.
I don't have
played
time
RPGs.
to explain why
I
I
know
don't have
about
time
this.
to explain.
Well, that sounds like a piss-poor reason. Well, you're just going to have to deal with it. How about fuck you?
Wow. Tell us how you really feel.
I honestly, like, every single time I sit on Destiny and, like, try to play it right now, I'm having a problem being able to. So I'm trying to stay away from it, so when House of Wolves actually comes out, I'll feel like playing it.
Smart move.
And don't honestly get me going on Crota hard mode, because that is the biggest bunch of bullshit that Bungie could have ever put out there for anybody, and it's come down to one simple fact: I can't kill shit. Whoever thought it was a good idea, a fun idea, to have a game that relies on very little cover and relies on an overshield mechanic is dumb.
You heard it here first, folks. I really... You have extremely good points to make, and I suppose it's... I never had a gripe with the story, ever. I never did. You know, Warframe, same thing. Never had a problem with the story. I had no idea what was going on, and I would argue that in Destiny, I have a lot better idea of what's going on than I do in Warframe. And granted, that's, you know, two very different games that share similar mechanics. You know, then you've got... I suppose that there are things that need improving with the story, and yes, the story content needs to be more, and I maybe if I hadn't taken the break that I've taken, I would be... let me rephrase that. I'm not going to cop out on this one. The reason I'm invested in Destiny is because of Alex, Banshee, and Misty. It has nothing to do with fucking the Traveler or the Speaker or the fucking Stranger, although she sells amazing vaginal cream. I'm invested in it because of myself, my clanmates, my friends, my characters. I could give a shit less about what's actually happening. And maybe that's to my credit, maybe it's to my detriment, but I cannot argue that there's a lack of investment in the actual struggle. Like, this is not a role-playing game for me. I am a Guardian in Destiny. I am. And my avatar in the game are these 3 female titans that I have grown very attached to. If I had to rely on the story of Destiny, I wouldn't be playing it. There, I said it.
No, and that's where I like having more of a... And granted, you know, maybe that's just with my background on MMOs and everything as it is. I need a reason to kind of keep going for a grind scenario. And otherwise, if I'm going to be doing something else, then, you know, I'd rather be playing something like one of my Game of the Year contenders, which would be like Bayonetta 2, because at least I've got a lot of good action behind it that I can get behind. I immediately regret that decision in terms of how I have presented that anyway. But in terms of, you know, gameplay, functionality, decent story, and all the content that is there, I would much rather do something like that, or go out and kill monsters over and over again for the sheer purpose of killing monsters over and over again constantly. Oh God. Anyway, it's a difference in opinion, I think, when all's said and done. There's just a different type of gameplay that each of them have, and I think that's all that it comes down to. Just the simple 100% lack of content that I'm giving with Destiny's ideas right now hurts, frankly. It hurts my want and desire to even think that there's a purpose for me doing what's going on. And that's, I think, my biggest problem. There is no true, or to me, feels like no true purpose of what might be going on within Destiny. That I have to go ahead and kill 20 million things at one shot, or, you know, Crota's kind of an easy one. Yeah, go kill Crota, otherwise he's going to kill us. Well, I thought I destroyed his soul in that one mission at the end. Well, you did, but yet you didn't. But, Anyway.
Like I said, it's because it's Franken-Crota, like, that bitch is secretly bringing him back to life.
There has to be some reason for it. Yeah.
And of course, my personal theory about the entire
Eagles bitch stream, everybody.
Right, fucking cunt.
I'm so sorry.
My entire...
Everybody can hear you, TV.
my entire theory about the concept of what we're doing, light versus dark, guardians versus minions of the darkness, and so forth. I honestly think that I could adapt and paraphrase something that Aaron Morn said. Don't forget the lies. There's something's not right here. And
No.
if I'm frustrated by the story, it's that it is simultaneously ambiguous and obviously flawed. Like there's something missing here. What do you guys think about the news that they just hired that writer from was it Guild Wars? Like was the one that posted the link to me, Grant. What are your thoughts on that? Because we didn't really discuss it. I left it alone because I wanted to talk about it here.
Well, after playing Guild Wars 2, that can go one way or another. Guild Wars 2 itself is a very different game from the original in terms of the way that they presented the lore and in terms of the way that they presented the questing system, all of that. It was very, very, very different from, here's a quest, fetch this, go back to the old spot and, turn it in.
Sure.
Versus Guild Wars, where you have the quests that are on the map and you're dynamically taking place in them, you're seeing the story kind of unfold, but yet you're still going to certain places and engaging in instance combat, much like you would a dungeon or a phased setup. Anyway, it's... Guild Wars 1's lore was better than Guild Wars 2's lore.
In what way?
That is not... in a lot of ways. They had actual established character development and character interests that went on throughout the entire series in Guild Wars 1. Guild Wars 1, to start with, had a better character system and development system than Guild Wars 2 had in its first, month or two. I did not have a care for a lot of what was basically presented in Guild Wars 2 versus Guild Wars 1 because it was that good.
Okay.
That's the easiest way I can kind of put it.
Okay.
The other thing, too, is... Yeah.
Well, my question would be, and I want to make it kind of... Let's look at this in a real... Let's be fair to what this guy's going to have to work with in Destiny, right? I don't think that he's coming in to rewrite the script. I think he's coming in to take the lore that's there and present it to us in a way that's more palpable and palatable, both. So you can touch it, feel it, talk about it, the whole thing.
To actually give voice to a nonsense story that the community has already come out with and fleshed up, and basically he's pulling a Five Nights at Freddy's and basically pulling everything out of his ass to try to make sense of it. That sounds about right.
Right, and I will say that if you peruse Reddit, I know that Bennett is always big on the Reddits, as the kids say. I do feel that Reddit is a good source to get a really good idea, an unfiltered tap on what the community thinks. Every time someone brings up a story, there's someone that will say, have you read the grimoire cards? And they'll say, here's what the grimoire cards say. And the ones I've read, I'm like, that tells me so much. Like, I had no fucking idea what EXO was. Then I read the EXO card. I'm like, that makes a lot of sense. Why the fuck isn't this in the game? Something as simple as putting the cards in the game. You know what I mean? So I don't think that the lore itself is the issue. I think the presentation of the lore and the game's lack of interpretation of the lore is what's suspect here. That's my thought on it. And I hope that that's what he's going to do, is try to tie everything together a little bit better and work with the programmers to get it to where this is at. Now, for the second game, Destiny 2, or even for the common expansion, whatever they want to deem the next big thing, and maybe it is going to be Comet where they kind of retool a lot of shit, okay? All I am concerned with is basic character motivations, race motivations, and structure. You give me a little bit more of that, make everything tie together a little better, and I'm going to be happy. I'm not asking for a lot. I don't think anyone is really asking for much. I am not coming here for like this deep, involved story. Gameplay is enough, and give me a little bit more. Like you say, like they tell you to go do these things, but you're like, but why? Well, because he's bad. Okay, Christian Bale's Batman, but why is he bad? Where's the Crota? You know, or Adam Jensen. I didn't ask for this. I was like, okay, dude, I get it. You didn't ask for it. It's cool. Speaking of, if you like Deus Ex, go get the Humble Bundle right now. Deus Ex, Director's Cut, PC. What? Just saying.
That is so not what I.
You're going to have so much fun with that.
Well, I already have Deus Ex Director's Cut on PS3, which I never finished. So I don't know that buying it on PC is going to help anything. It's what it is, Grant, and you know fucking well what it is. It's on PS3. I bought it right before fucking PS4 came out. Right before. And
yeah, and it's terrible, but the only other controller I shouldn't say that. The only other two controllers I've been able to actually play and use on anything, this is probably going to sound rebellious of me in some ways, but the Wii U controller, the Pro controller, sits in my hand very well compared to a PS3 controller.
Right.
And the Xbox 360 wired controller that I use for my PC now and again. Again, kind of rebellious of me. What's wrong with me? Somebody help.
I use this on my PC. My camouflage one's for my PS4. I can go wired or wireless.
I cannot get anything to work with that on some choice games. The one that actually fell short for me was Revengeance. Metal Gear.
Okay.
It, for whatever reason, constantly pivots the camera to the right. And I've tried all manner of calibration, and it doesn't work right.
Yeah, I'm still going to be buying a 360 controller. I'm not going to sit here and whistle Dixie, so to speak. Anyway. Why don't you extol the virtues of the 360? I really have to take a piss. I don't give a fuck how unprofessional it is. The man's got to piss.
Just don't
wait, what am I?
The 360 controller on PC. What could the DualShock 4 do for it?
Oh, what can the DualShock 4 do for
where,
that?
If Sony would release drivers.
Got it. I mean, all it's going to do is end up helping it along, period. If Sony had a way that they could actually get drivers over to the PC, that would be fan-frickin-tastic. So we wouldn't have to fight it over for all these little extras and doodads and have to go ahead and customize it and figure that, it doesn't actually work for some games because it wasn't coded for it or with it in mind. It just gets aggravating. I just hope they learn from it, period. Because if they don't, that's going to be a huge problem. Anyway.
I had never actually considered using like a 360 controller on my PC, but that's actually kind of cool.
They preload all the drivers up on Microsoft's website, so as soon as you plug it in on a wired, it senses it, picks up on it, and picks it up as a gamepad.
That's pretty cool.
It's probably the best thing they ever did with the Xbox. But for some games, it just does not work right in my hand. I still hate the D-pad. I still think it's the biggest pile of crap that they ever came out with on any console.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the D-pad either.
And that redesigned one with the twist thing for like the, we can keep the webbing either up or down for the D-pad. Who the hell cares?
Yeah.
Make it so it actually works and feels like a D-pad. The freaking DS has a better feeling D-pad than the piece of crap you put out with. And guess what? The D-pad on the new Xbox One controller still feels like garbage.
Yeah.
I don't know how hard it is to make a good feeling D-pad. Apparently, in Microsoft's mind, pretty freaking hard.
That's what everyone says.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they did have the one D-pad toward the end. I think it was the one of the limited edition crazy editions. I think it was the European edition or something like that, where it had the. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
that one was supposedly good. Why didn't they just keep that design? Why is that so hard? I don't get it.
Because reasons.
Because Microsoft?
Or that.
Okay.
Whichever makes more sense at the time.
I would definitely.
Whichever makes less sense at the time.
Yeah. Thanks, Microsoft. Anyway.
Yeah, Janser, PS3 controller, like there's a couple emulators out there that work really great, but the DualShock 4 has had there's some good programs out there. Like I use DS4 Windows, and it works great, but I'm having some issues like Battlefront 2. Constantly going this way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it just I know this calibration, I know all these things, and I am going to get a wired 360 controller because they're not that expensive, and I know that there's calibration issues I don't have to worry about. The second that the DualShock 4 has supported native drivers, I put that fucking Xbox controller into a box.
Well, and especially with, you know, hoping that we end up getting something like Remote Play or something like that over to the PS4, or from the PS4 to the PC, then that's going to make, you know, actually gaming using a DS4 feel really good. And that's where, if Sony wants to develop their infrastructure more, especially in terms of, say, using... Even if we just take PlayStation Now and put Destiny aside, if their entire goal is to make PlayStation Now their later infrastructure for all of their systems, that means that they need to develop it for PC. That means they need to develop a good driver system for the DS4s.
And I think that that's kind of what they're probably waiting for. I think they want to do it, and it makes perfect sense. I'd be willing to bet that they're developing a driver that supports all the major browsers, that supports, you know, Remote Play well, because it'll be a slightly different program. Because there are going to be people that don't want to do it through a browser. There's got to be an application, so you're going to have that. And you have to support Windows, and you're going to have to, you know, have remapping and all this stuff. Sony being Sony. No matter how much we gripe about it, you and I both have to admit that they tend not to release something until it's fixed, in terms of software and firmware, by and large. Very seldom is something broken out of the box. You know, so I think that they're going to release it all at once. And I'd like to think that the next major system update is going to support that. I think that they want to bring the Remote Play out of beta for Vita and PS3, make sure those are working, make sure the TVs are working. Like, they don't want to bite off more than they can chew. And and I get that. It's just frustrating, and I hear your frustration. I'm the same way, bro. But when that day does come, I mean, we're talking about this the way that we were talking about a media player for music on the PS4. And
now it's here live and works great, so whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the thing, though, that we need to also kind of keep in mind in some respect. Sony does have a little bit more control over what is going on with Destiny, so they're not going to let it fall flat on its face.
Mm-mm.
They don't have any say in terms of how the game is going to end up going. But if they, even for a remote second, start to see that something may impact how things will be for playing the game, I think Sony's going to jump in and say, you can't let this die, or you can't let this break.
Right.
And that's the good thing with Sony, in terms of them being at the head again, and what I was really, really hoping to actually see out of this console generation. Because honestly, good things tend to happen when Sony's in the lead. Period.
And there was actually just a report that came out today, and I apologize, I'm still new at hosting the Hangouts. I'd post a link in here. The chat's broken, guys. That's my fault. I need to set it up better next time.
You're such a dirtbag, Jimmy.
I am. But PS4 is still far in the lead.
Yeah.
And what I find funny is that for a company that's far in the lead, did you see the sale that's going on this week? You get a PlayStation TV and a free game with a PlayStation 4 this week.
Really?
Yep. I bet Suze is a little pissed off about that.
No, because I can't honestly say that I would really spend much time with the PlayStation TV, but still, yeah.
Well, PlayStation TV, just having Vita games on the TV, like, for me, that's huge. And my primary reason for buying a PlayStation TV, my two primary reasons, went down to one. And that was Deception 4. Because they just announced a reimagining of that game for PS4. Well, I don't even have any reason to finish the Vita version now. I'm so happy I didn't finish it. Because now I'm just going to buy the PS4 version. Because the only reason I fucking bought it was so they'd make more Deception games on PS4. And then when the PS4 version of that comes out, I'm going to plug the shit out of it. So, it's getting way off subject, and I don't give a shit. It's my fucking podcast. Because I constantly get off topic. One could say that my ability to go off topic is quotidian in nature.
It's my podcast, and I'll bullshit if I want to.
That's right.
That hurt. That one hurt, Jimmy.
Fuck you. Get a dictionary. Really? Really?
God, that one hurt. You know what? File it.
Yeah, I was about to say, fucking file it.
Both of you file it in your fucking ass. Alright? File.
No, sir.
Fuck you, file it. But, we talk about all these different things and how there is a Sony, because a discussion about Destiny really has to involve the PlayStation. I'm sorry for those of you that play it on Xbox. I've never heard a good story about that. Not one. The Xbox community...
I've seen a few things.
By all means.
I've seen a few things in terms of like how Xbox has been going, which tends to wind up the same way I hear about most Xbox gamers. Yeah, I can't wait for the 12-year-olds to stop singing so we can do our raid. And so I can do my strike. Jimmy, I don't play on Xbox because of people like you. So knock it off. Wait a minute.
I don't sing on the Xbox.
Are you sure? Do you have an Xbox anymore that you know how you'd act with an Xbox?
Oh, but I used to play Halo. Here's the thing. In the latter days of my online playing with Xbox, I'd play Halo 3. I'd play in Lone Wolves. I'd mute everybody, and I'd turn the music way up. And I'd just run around killing people. I was the guy in Halo 3 that you hate in Destiny. Like, that was how good I was at Lone Wolves. Hi, Bobo. You want to say hi to the world?
Kitty.
Bobo. Bobo has gotten much more mellow. See?
It's a Bobo.
It's a Bobo.
It's a Bobo. He's gonna be done with you holding him in about 0.2 seconds.
She,
sorry.
She's disinterested.
Just like, what does the screen comrade?
What is this cage? You have me in this flesh cage you call arms. I'm gonna write that one down. Suze, write that down. Flesh cage.
I did what? No. I have a controller in my hands. I can't write shit right now.
And move your cam. I see the wall. I don't see you.
Whoops, sorry.
Am I gonna have to like get some kind of like shoulder harness? We'll have to get her a GoPro camera so she can put it like around her neck and it kind of goes like that. Something.
My laptop started getting warm in my lap, where you generally put laptops.
Some people pay really good money for that sort of thing.
So I shifted it over a little bit and gave you a glorious view of the wall behind me.
I hate to tell you, but aside from you not being in the corner, it's basically the same view.
Well, goddammit.
I do have an extra Yes, it is. And I do have an extra webcam I may just have to send you.
To do what with?
To do this with. Just saying.
Webcam would be more stable. That's what he's getting at.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway. What were we talking about?
Destiny.
Okay.
Yeah, Destiny.
Destiny.
But here's the thing.
Destiny.
The fact that we've gotten off subject so many times just proves there's less to talk about Destiny right now. Doesn't it?
Yeah. Which means Bungie better get on their shit because they're going to start having less and less for me to actually talk about because all that it comes down to is Crota hard mode dumb, grinding dumb, bounties dumb, no reason dumb.
Crota hard mode not that dumb. Crota hard mode fun.
Crota hard mode dumb.
Crota hard mode
Warlock
fun.
perspective, not Titan perspective. Also level 31, who has worked his ass off to get most of the weapons that he has leveled up, and guess how much they actually matter. All right, diddly shit.
You have Icebreaker, right?
Yeah, and I'm not using that on the bridge sequence. I'm just not.
With the opening bridge sequence? Dude, every single time I've beaten...
Not the opening bridge sequence, the one with the gatekeepers and whatnot, with the two ogres and everything. I just didn't know. I'm not needing it for a lot of that. I need to actually stay alive and take care of sword bearers, which also means I'm probably using my shotgun more often. Thank Jesus.
Well, Jesus hasn't shown you the easiest method to do that. Basically, what you do, like you read about, you get one person across. Doesn't matter what class they are. Doesn't fucking matter at all. They hide. Then you get the Warlock, which would be you, with Radiance fully powered up. Then you get... Really? Wow. How did she just pull down? Like, I don't even know what she did. Like, things that you would never... Should never... I don't know, whatever. This podcast interrupted by cats. They're dicks.
If there was ever a technical difficulty, it would be a cat.
Well, what she did was she knocked over like a pen thing for different. I don't even know what it. Oh yeah, fuck, whatever. It's at least one Warlock is down on one of the pillars, right? And someone else can go jump to the top, despawn the enemies, and then the Warlock can kill themselves and resurrect at the last second. Then once you despawn the enemies, now everyone snipes from across the way, and the other person just kind of chills out. We've done it traditionally with 2 people on icebreakers, 1 person across every time. It's very easy. So, have we not done that with you?
I don't think I was there for any of those, but I haven't had the willpower to want to sit through doing anything with the Crota raids. I'm so disinterested in it. I'm so disinterested in the raid content. And you know what? I'm going to do it this way. The raid content that Bungie has that it just doesn't appeal to my sensibilities in terms of the way that they've structured them. They feel like they should be, you know, I am used to the whole entire idea of having to sit and grind on, or the old traditional saying of chew glass for a good. And funny how they call it the 1 volt of glass, because that is exactly what you're doing.
Janzer, does that answer your question about Grant's MMO experience? Yeah? Please continue.
And I'm good with sitting back and doing like 6 hours worth of chewing glass on nothing but one boss, and doing that for maybe 4 nights in a row, needing to learn a boss, and do that with a relatively similar sized group to what Destiny presents itself, which is 10 people, and then suddenly I get in with 6 people in a first-person shooter environment with weaponry that I have built up so far and away that all of a sudden it feels like it's useless because I get one-shot by a thrall. It totally knocks the wind out of me, and it makes me feel like I don't care to bother playing with any of it or bother doing any of it. Because when I cannot find cover, because I have to stand on the platform to ensure that we can make the bridge and make sure that nobody else dies and the party can actually succeed, and then in the meantime get myself slashed in the head by a sword bearer that comes down the way. It is timed and coordinated, but
that particular party that you are referring to, because I remember that party, was not a strong party. It wasn't.
No. And that I know, but the other instances that I've been with you have been rough.
Right, and I will say that I've got a pretty good core group of people that I feel like I could run almost anybody through the raid. And I'm not saying that because you don't need hand-holding, you're an excellent player. It's something that, as a clan, we got to work on, because now I've got the resources, I've got the time, so shit happens. And then part of the reason I haven't been pushing getting you and Bennett through the raids is because I've been kind of waiting to see what happens with Suze. To be honest with you, I figure I can teach everyone the same thing at the same time, get the core clan all up to speed at the same time, because we have the luxury of said time. Those of you that just joined the stream, if you're wanting to ask questions, chat is broken. If you have a Twitter account, just tweet me at GrindheadJim. I'll see it here on the computer. Be happy to answer your questions here. I apologize. Next time we do this, that won't be an issue. So let's kind of bring this home a little bit, because we're over an hour now. Given everything that you see wrong with raid content, what's your wish list for the next raid? Because, and I'll frame this for you. For the next raid. And I'll frame this for you. Vault of Glass seemed to heavily favor the Warlock. I would venture to say, by far, that Crota's End heavily favors the Hunter. I'm assuming that this next raid will heavily favor the Titan. I hope so. That being said, what would you like to see in terms of a very basic, high-level mechanic?
There is a point where you're going to have a challenge, and you're going to run into those scenarios that you are going to be overwhelmed. And that's going to happen in any kind of raid situation, because that's exactly what they end up framing this as, is a raid scenario. But the largest thing about that is to know when it's going to happen or what's going to happen, because if I have any big complaint with the game in general, or the raid content in general, it's that there is a lot of randomness to it. all of a sudden one side ends up getting 20 to 30 mobs or the hive or whatever on one side, and you get 2 on the other. Where's the balance? There's no framed or structured balance that says one half has to go here or here and makes it easy for you to say these 3 players are strong enough or these 2 players are strong enough. This other player could probably help out the 3 others that are not as strong, and you know what's going to happen. Which means that a lot of the time, which is what we ran into with even the normal mode Crotas that we were doing, we were fighting the mechanics often. And if Bungie is going to have, I feel, success in terms of being a 100% like looked at by MMO champion kind of game, then that means that they need some kind of full raid structure, and they need some kind of full scripted structure.
Okay.
That is my biggest complaint right now with this game, is that the randomness is just, I feel, killing it. It's a basis on FPS games, but
I would strongly argue that Vault of Glass versus Crota's End, the random factor is greatly decreased.
I was going to say, I feel Vault of Glass is a better constructed raid than Crota's End.
Right, the original Vault of Glass pre-patch, cheese notwithstanding, was amazing. Because you could go in with a team, like you saw the fucking streams, you saw the videos, it was really cool. Yeah. Everyone had their role, you did it. Granted, I hate to say this, and fuck you Bungie for making me say it, the randomness at the end with Atheon did force me to learn some roles I didn't want to learn. And it laid a foundation for me later leading my own raid teams. So it's a good thing, but it needs to be more consistent.
Right.
We do have a question from Twitter. Chris asks, not a Chris that we know personally, a different Chris altogether. Chris, I'm sorry, Chris. This is someone who must have created a Twitter account. Legion of Chris asks, peanut butter or Nazism? They are referring to a video I made earlier in the day where I talked about Nazism and peanut butter as examples for your opinion. That's a no-brainer. Peanut butter every time.
Yes, definitely. How is that even a question?
Although I will say that I prefer my Nazis chunky to creamy.
And so that just happened?
It did? Hey.
Yeah.
Hey, I told people to ask questions. They did. I'm cool with it. Again, I apologize for nothing. So.
Are you sure about that? I'm kidding.
Sorry, not sorry.
Sorry, not sorry. Canadian, not Canadian. That's basically what we just said there.
Wow. Troy is going to be so mad.
No, he won't be. He'll just giggle. You know Troy.
That's
then
true.
He'll just go, right on.
Right on. He's going to be so happy in the morning. Because this setup right here, he's going to be like, oh my god, thank you, God. No more phone bullshit.
Yeah. He's going to be like, wait, you mean there's not going to be that much audio cutting in and out anymore?
Nope. You know, so... and for those of you watching, we'll be doing the Isometric Perspective podcast live in the morning. 7-8 hours-ish, I think.
I'm going to say 7 or 8 hours, roughly.
Okay. Which means I'm probably going to have another beer or two and then force myself to get to sleep somehow, some way. Because I got to do a podcast and I have other things to do.
Yep.
But I think that's about as much as we got for the Quotidian podcast this particular session. So, anything you guys want to get off your chest before we go?
Dear Bungie, don't suck.
Yes, please stop sucking.
Okay. Bungie no suck. Chris, you are welcome for settling the immortal question. Now, Quotidian podcast we're going to be doing hopefully bi-weekly or weekly. I don't fucking care. We'll do it when we fucking do it. So keep your eyes
Bingo.
open. You can follow...
Get it when you get it.
That's true stories. You can follow the podcast itself at Quotidian Cast. That ruled at That Ruled. You can follow the clan at C4DC Clan. My That Ruled alter ego at Jimmy That Ruled. Or Grindhead Jim at Grindhead Jim. Grant, do you use your Twitter at all?
What Twitter?
You deleted your Twitter account. Did you really?
I think I used that to watch like what was going on with like Final Fantasy 14, and I haven't logged into that son of a bitch ever since.
Well,
So what Twitter?
I will say
I do exist on there, don't I?
you do, and get your hands on the new Falcon Pro, which is one of the most clever applications I've seen, which we might want to talk about on Binar Ridiculous. Yeah, that podcast still exists too, motherfuckers.
Oh yeah, about that one.
Falcon Pro, it's one instance of the app, but it treats each separate user account. As far as Twitter is concerned, it's a separate registration of a separate app, so that there's no limitation on your tickets for the day, the way that the old Falcon, remember that whole debacle? So,
Boy, and for how many things you go through for as schizophrenic as you are, that must be a joy.
well, I've
You have
got...
all my personalities in one place.
Well, what Grant is referring to is the fact that I run about 8 different Twitter accounts.
I know, that's what I said. I'm going to have all my personalities in one place.
Yeah. Well, I've got the
One
one
for Jimmy TR, one for
Well,
Jimmy D, and
I don't really mess with any of the character ones anymore because I've moved away from that as far as like K Thanks Die and Jimmy TR, but I do I still have the Kai Judaism one. I've got the clan one. I've got the podcast one. We'll see if that takes off. Please do. But whatever. It's just nice to have the options, So
I don't use my Twitter account either.
Twitter, if you get the right people on your Twitter, is fun. But just having a Twitter feed in and of itself is lame. I'll be the first one to admit it. I still hate hashtags, even though I use them. They're useful, but I hate them. Hate them. Hate them. Hatred.
they're dumb.
Bo, are you going to knock over more shit, or can I finish this podcast in peace, please? Okay, so Destiny, that's a thing. House of Wolves, hurry up and get here. Bungie, stop sucking. And Peanut Butter for the win. For the Quotidian podcast, on behalf of Jill the Ripper and Grant Beard and the absent Bennett Fiasco, we miss you, brother. We'll see you in a couple days. I am Grindhead Jim. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And as always, keep on grinding, because if you're not doing it every day, you're not Quotidian. Cheers.